Thank you, Julia. A family was having guests to dinner. And so the mom asked her 6-year-old daughter if she would say the blessing. And the little girl said, "Well, Mom, I wouldn't know what to say." And the mom said, "Well, just say what you hear Mommy say, dearie." And so the little girl took a deep breath, and she closed her eyes, and she solemnly said, "Dear Lord, why the hell did I invite so many people over to dinner?" Probably shouldn't say that in church, huh? Heck. So what are you got to watch what you say around kids. But so what's your prayer life like? How are your prayers lately? Is that your prayer? Why is this going on? What's happening? Dear Lord, help me. So our theme for Wednesday Night Live for September is prayer. And we're starting off tonight with tapping into your heart's wisdom. We've got Mindy next Wednesday with Peace in the Midst with World Day of Prayer. And I'll be following that up the following week with looking at our 5-step prayer practice in unity. And then Michael will be closing out the month with praying with others. So we've got a full month of focusing on our prayer life. The purpose of this talk series is really to gain a greater understanding of our unity prayer practice, and so that we can take it deeper for the purpose of gaining greater spiritual mastery, deeper understanding, and enlightenment. And also, it's important as we're moving forward in this time of recovering and rebuilding in Houston, that we use our prayer practice for our own self-care and renewal and replenishment. So let's look at what is prayer and why do we do it. Well, for most of us, our earliest understanding of prayer is that we ask God for what we need. We might beg and plead, ask God for what we need. But this practice of prayer really puts God outside of ourselves and really creates an understanding that God is separate from us and perhaps like a supernatural being who can grant us our wishes or not, whether or not He approves of us. But in unity, we have a different understanding of prayer. That's not how we understand the prayer practice. Our prayer life is based on an understanding of the truth of our oneness with God, that there's no separation between us and God. This is the meaning of our name, unity. Now, in our human experience, it can appear as if we're separate from God, and we can use prayer to come into union with God, but this is not what's really occurring. This is what we think is occurring. What's really occurring is that we're awakening our awareness to the truth of oneness. In unity, we use the words for God like divine mind. We call God divine mind. Our Christ mind within is that level of consciousness within us, which is our image and likeness of God in us. And so when we pray from the consciousness of divine mind, from our Christ nature, we know, we realize, we claim, and we declare what is already true. So it's that shift of consciousness into an awareness of the allness, that whatever we're seeking is already present. It's not asking God to do something or for anything. Unity author Sue Sicking wrote, "True prayer is not asking for things, not even the best of things. Prayer is the lifting of the consciousness to the place where these things already are, already present." So we know in God is all divine ideas, anything comes to us. It is our prosperity, this realm of all love, of all peace, of all ideas, of everything that we open our minds to, and then the answer is present, and what we need becomes present to us when we go into prayer. In Heart-Centered Metaphysics, Paul Hasselbeck, this is my favorite book that I teach, Paul Hasselbeck, the author, explains that prayer is an attitude of the heart that's more about being than doing. So it's not that it's a physical activity, but it's getting into a beingness, into an awareness, shifting our consciousness into really feeling into the power and presence of God. And so while our thinking nature is involved in prayer, It's key that we feel what is true. That's the difference that I noticed when I came into Unity, is getting our prayers into our feeling nature. It's what we call taking that 18-inch journey from the head into the heart, taking that journey. And so when I was thinking about how we were going to start our talk series on prayer, I thought, well, we have to start by talking about how to get into our hearts, because that's essential. That's really the first step we need to take in really engaging our prayer practice in a deeper way. When we move into our hearts, we tap into our own internal intuition that's already present, our inner guidance, our inner spiritual wisdom, where the answers that we seek are already present and they're already available. I really learned how to tap into my heart and to really engage my heart's wisdom in a very conscious way when I became a prayer chaplain. Now, I always felt that I made choices in my life based on following my heart's guidance, but this is really doing it in a prayerful and a conscious way. And so the training that I received as a prayer chaplain, we were trained to hold sacred space and to breathe into our hearts, to center into our hearts, to feel the energy of our hearts, but as we listen to the prayer request and as we engage in prayer with another person. And so I found that prayer was a very intimidating process to me when I first started learning how to be a prayer chaplain, because it's like, well, what are the right words to say when somebody gives you a prayer request? You want to really respond the right words, and you can get really stuck in your head and thinking you have to memorize a lot of affirmations and prayers. And when you shift into the heart and you're praying with someone, it's really, and you have that heart-centered, loving intention, they feel that energy, and the words, while the words are important, the words are not as important as the love that they feel, the energy, that heart energy and that heart connection. And the words just flow. What I found is that the affirmations and the right words and whatever, they were coming from my internal intuitive wisdom rather than from my mind racing, oh, what's the right thing to say? They were coming right from my heart when I breathed and I centered into my heart. And we prayed with all kinds of people in all situations, but mostly people who were really attending our church. And they came in, we had a prayer room, and we would pray for about 30 or 40 minutes after the Sunday service. There would be a big line, and so we'd pray with 10 or 15 people maybe every Sunday. And then I had a prayer list of people I would call every month, and we made some home visits and hospital visits. But my time engaged in prayer was not so much on an extended period of time, and so I was able to keep up with it. I had the energy to do it. I didn't get worn out from doing it because I wasn't really doing it that long. I was able to engage, in my heart and do this prayer and really feel like I was making a difference. But I really got into a deeper understanding of prayer when I had to pray with about 100 people every week. When I was working at Silent Unity on the prayer lines, I was one of the prayer associates. I worked there when I was a ministerial student for about 2.5 years. I was there part-time, and so it averaged to be about 100 people every weekend that I was answering, I was praying with on the phones, and that's the phone number. It's a toll-free number. You can call 24/7. They're always available to pray with you. And that cupola at the top that has the light in it, that's called the light that shines for you. That light was first a candle that was in a window, Myrtle Fillmore's home, and they were praying, and then it continued to get moved, and finally into this building where we prayed, where Silent Unity is located at Unity Village in Missouri. And so it was really a true honor to work there, really to receive these calls and to be that presence of Silent Unity. We don't answer the phone as ourselves, we answer as Silent Unity, and so to hold that space and to be that presence. But it was very difficult for me when I first started. But I didn't know how long I was going to last because it wasn't like being in the prayer room at my church where I knew most of the people, and people were coming in with pretty much an understanding of how to ask for prayer, what their prayer intention was, and they had been around unity. And these were people from all over the world, from all religions, no religion, all different kinds of people. Some people were really argumentative and not nice. Some people were calling over and over again in the same hour with the same issue, and I was like, I'm already prayed with you. And they were calling again. Like, I got really frustrated. I didn't really know if I was going to make it. Okay, I thought I could get. I wasn't sure. I was getting really too frustrated. And so I went to my supervisor and I said, hey, I don't understand why I did this. I was a prayer chaplain at my church in New York, but this is different. This is like so many calls coming in, and people, it's like they're like this, and they're talking like this, and they're saying this kind of thing. And what she said to me was, well, our callers aren't trained. And I said, what? I said, what? She said, well, our callers aren't trained. Like, you're trained to know how to ask for prayer, and maybe the people that in your church kind of learned what that was about, but these people are just calling, they have a need, they have something going on, they have an anxiety or stress, and so you're there to be the presence of love. I was like, oh, wow. I totally was in my head. I realized I was in my head. I was overthinking it. I was trying to make it a certain way. It's like, I'm just there to be the presence of love and to hold that space. And so I totally shifted my energy around it because I really wanted to do that work. It was really in my heart to do it. And it really wasn't long that I was in that frustrated place. My supervisor really helped me. And so I learned to get into my heart. And what I would do is before even the call came in, even before it was, the line, because it just automatically picks up, and then there's somebody on the line. And I would just send love to whoever was coming in on the line. I would be just centered in my heart space. And I noticed that I no longer felt drained anymore because I wasn't having to overwork it and overthink it. It was coming from my inner intuition and from love, and Spirit was doing the work. And I found that the energy I was putting out was the energy that was coming back to me. I was getting different kinds of callers. People were more appreciative and kind and friendly. And even when I was getting the more difficult callers, I was in a different place. I was hearing them differently. I was seeing how their difficulty that they were going through was a place I had been in some other way in my life. And I began to really relate with them and connect with them and just see our oneness with each other. It was a shift, and it was just really about coming from the heart, shifting my energy into the heart. And I felt a sense of wellness, a sense of wholeness, and an ability to do that job day after day, taking these calls without getting drained and feeling this really good. It really changed me. It changed who I was. It changed me internally and externally in many ways doing that work. And eventually, the Silent Unity trainers started putting new people with me to sit with me and to hear my calls. And so I really felt that I had the opportunity to pass on what I had learned about getting into that heart energy when we do prayer. It's really important, letting Spirit speak through us in that way. The practice of going into the heart has proven to have scientific benefits that lead to calmer and healthier living. We all want that, right? Calmer and healthier lives. There's an organization called the Institute of Heart Math. It was founded in 1991 by Doc Children. And this organization has conducted many years of scientific research that prove that when we connect with our hearts, we reduce stress, we build resilience, and we're better able to connect with our inner intuition, our inner guidance. In Heart Math, they call the expanded awareness and insight that I was experiencing, that shift that I was talking about, that insight that I was experiencing, they call that heart intelligence. Did you know that your heart has a brain? Your heart has a brain. There's a slide that shows that. This slide is a Heart Math slide, and it shows that the heart is more powerful than the brain. The heart is about 100 times stronger electrically and up to 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the brain. And so our energy field, when we're centered in that heart energy, it goes out and affects people up to like 50 feet beyond us, just whether or not we're in our heart energy. Our emotions are connected to our heart rate. And so if you're feeling stressed, you can have a very erratic heart pattern like the one on the left where this person is in frustration. And so you see that the heart rate pattern there is all over the place. It's irregular. It's stressed out. That's what it looks like when we feel stressed out. This is called a heart rate variability graph. So on the left is a state of frustration. It's very disordered. There's no pattern to it, and it's called an incoherent pattern. And the goal is to feel positive emotions and to have your heart feel regulated and calm, which is what you see on the right side when this person shifted into their heart energy into feeling appreciation. You see how the pattern is regular, it's even, it's like a coherent, it's ordered. When I was at Silent Unity, they had a machine that could test this to show whether or not you're in coherence. It's called the M-Wave machine. It's HeartMath has this machine, and it can show whether or not you're in this state. And so we actually think and feel better when our hearts are in a coherent state, and it actually physically changes parts of our brain, our amygdala and our thalamus. So what created the coherent heart state? It was feeling your heart feelings. I'm going to share with you a technique that is easy. It's just 3 steps that will allow you to get into this heart coherent state. And I learned it from a Unity minister. His name is David MacArthur, and he is certified in HeartMath. He actually worked for the HeartMath Institute for 7 years, and he has a book which I read called Your Spiritual Heart, Accessing the Wisdom that Manifests Your Heart's Desires. He gave a workshop at the Unity People's Convention this year that I took, and he told us that we needed to share this with our congregations. It would be easy to teach people. So I took him at his word, the power of the word. He put it out there, and I believed it. So I wanted to share this with you because I really think it's easy and it's very powerful and really important for us in this time to really be in that heart coherent state, to take care of ourselves and to take care of the people around us. And so it's called the Heart Wisdom Tool, and it has 3 easy steps. Like I said, you can do it in about 90 seconds, a minute. And it will shift your energy to focus your heart into accessing your own inner wisdom, to find your guidance, to get into that peaceful state. This is what David MacArthur says. He says, your spiritual heart has the power to transform your emotional conflict and turmoil into true peace in only a few minutes. That's the promise. So here's the first step. It's touch and breathe. So the first step is to touch your heart. Just touch your heart space. It just draws your attention into your heart. And to take a few deep breaths, focusing into your heart. So we know our heart doesn't breathe. It's our lungs, and through our nostrils, our lungs, but just imagining your heart has lungs, or if you're teaching this to a child, you can say, pretend you're a blowfish and you're puffing up, right? Just breathing into your heart space. Bringing our attention there. Touch and breathe. Let's say that together. Touch and breathe. So that's the first step. And the second step is to remember and feel. Remember and feel. So this is a process of when you breathe, you're centering your attention in your heart space, of remembering choosing a moment when your heart was really full. And so I wanted to share with you a few moments when my heart was really full. This is me with my dog when he was a puppy. We got him when he was 7 weeks old and 4 pounds. He was a little baby beagle. And he had just gotten his shots, and they wrapped him up in a delivery blanket. We said he came in swaddling clothes, like Jesus. And I got home, and here's this precious little beagle, and I held him to my heart, and I looked at him, and I felt something physically in my chest open up. My heart opened to this little doggy, and I just loved him so much. His name is Bono, which means all good. And so that was an experience that I go back to when I remember and feel when I first got my puppy, and my heart just opened up to him, and I was his mommy. I was his mommy. I love him so much. So this is my wedding to my husband, David. And when you're a bride, you put a lot of work into the outfit and the hair and the makeup and all, right? And so this is the chapel where it was on the campus of my college, Rollins College, and so the organ is playing, Here Comes the Bride, and they open the doors for me to come in, and it's like magic. You don't see who's opening, the doors just open, and I come out, and my brother's walking me down the aisle, and people are looking at me and smiling, and then everybody turns and is looking at David, because David is standing there crying. He was just standing there crying, and I'm like, thanks for stealing my moment. But our hearts were so full. We were just so full of joy. It was just so beautiful, and that moment just opens my heart. Just him standing there with tears in his eyes, just so happy. And you can see us there right after the ceremony. There's just so much love and joy, and that just opens my heart, and I just feel that fullness when I think about that moment. And there's one more. That was our christening that we had here when my daughter Felicity, it was a year ago, and she fell asleep in my arms, and I just felt just that warmth of her, just trust and love of me as I held her, and this was a beautiful experience of the christening, and Mindy was there, and everyone was there. It was just this beautiful experience of love, and Michael sang amazing things, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. There's my little Petunia. That's a moment where she was in her car seat, and she was starting to say mama, and she just created her own song, and we call it the mama song. She just started singing it. Nobody ever taught her, and she'd go, a mama, a mama, a mama, a mama, a mama. It was so cute. And it's just, my heart just fills thinking about it. And so you feel an energy shift as I kind of share this with you. You have your own memories, your own images, your own experiences. But I just want to take you just for a moment to, for that. That was just really fun. To some other images. Now, I know that these have filled our homes and our lives in this past week. Images like this of our beloved city and those who took such good care of us. And so when we look at images like this, our energy shifts. You feel that? You feel a shift in the energy? There was a research study where they used a computer to show people random images. We'll get back to that as I tell you about it. Most of the images were neutral, like a rock, and some of them were emotional, like a bloody knife. And each person was wired so researchers could see what happened in their brain and their heart and other parts of their body. They discovered that 4.8 seconds before the computer selected an emotional image, there was a response in the heart that sent a signal to the brain so that there was an anticipation of the emotional image. So there's something outside of ourselves, you could say at the level of spirit, which informs our heart, which tells our brains when something emotional is going to happen so that we can kind of prepare ourselves, right? This is spirit at work. And so we need to remember that I imagine all of us, me certainly last week, filled my life with those images of what happened. And so it possibly took us into that state of incoherence, into that state of fear and frustration or concern and all of that. So it's time that we need to take care of ourselves, to go into our hearts to heal. When we go into our hearts, when we do this work, touch and breathe, remember and feel, it gets us into that coherent state, which helps us to heal from the emotional impact of seeing all those other images and being in those situations as well. And so the third step is sincere asking. So once you touch and breathe, remember and feel, and then there's sincere asking. And so that's really just honestly, humbly, openly asking for your soul's wisdom, to call forth that inner guidance and wisdom. And the question that David MacArthur posed that he thought was best, that he found through all the workshops and trainings that he had done with people, the question that worked best for people was, what is a more effective response to this situation? So remember, we're shifting into the heart, and so we're opening wisdom. What is a more effective response? And letting our inner wisdom reveal that to us when we're in these situations of what do I do, or how can I help, or what needs to get done, what needs to change. Opening up to that inner wisdom. What is a more effective response in this situation? So keep that in mind as we go forward in this experience, as we're moving into greater healing. We know the purpose of life is to love, to be love, to express love. Houston needs our love more than ever. And so when we connect with our hearts, we're better able to know what's ours to do, what the need is beneath the emotions and our reactions to the situation. Carl Jung said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Whoever looks outside dreams. Whoever looks inside awakens." And so we can use this time as a time for us to be stuck and feel separate and confused and alone, or we can use this time to connect, to experience more oneness with each other, to experience more love, to awaken, to experience enlightenment, and to really use it for our own spiritual mastery. And so I invite you into that awareness, into using this tool. God bless you.